screams beneath the waves. Brendam docks is usually a very busy place. Salty and Porter happily work together. They enjoy the hustle and bustle of the docks. They ensure that all goods are being loaded and unloaded in a timely manner, ensuring a smooth and efficient operation. In his spare time, Salty tells the engines of his famous stories whenever he is not too busy. The engines enjoy listening to Salty's tales, which often involve adventures from the high seas or mysterious happenings on the docks. Cranky, on the other hand, prefers to focus on his work, but he can't help but chuckle at some of Salty's more outrageous stories. One night, Salty was telling Bill and Ben another sea tale. As the old tramp steamer was about to dock, the monster of Brendam appeared. He grabbed hold of the old tramp steamer with his long, slimy tentacles and pulled it down, never to be seen again. "Cinders and ashes!" gasped Bill. "What a great yet spooky story!" exclaimed Ben. "Monster of Brendam indeed!" scoffed Cranky. "Let's hear another one," said Ben. "Yes, one more story, please, Salty." "I believe another story has to wait for another day." Bill and Ben looked, and there stood Sir Topham Hatt. "You two better go back to the clay pits now. I need to talk to Salty." "Yes, sir," said Bill. "See you later, Salty," said Ben. "Now, Salty, the mainland's dockyard will be short of engines for the next 2 weeks, so I will be sending you out there to help out." "Aye, aye, Captain. I'll be happy to help," smiled Salty. "Excellent," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Also, Vickerstown Bridge is being repaired, so you're going to travel to the mainland by sea." Salty beamed. "Oh, thank you, sir. I haven't been on a ship for a long time." "Excuse me, sir. Since Salty will be in the mainland for a while, who will help me with the workload here?" asked Porter. "While Salty will be away," explained Sir Topham Hatt, "Diesel will help you." Sir Topham Hatt turned and walked away while Porter groaned. "Cheer up, Porter," said Salty. "We know that Diesel can be impossible to work with. Nevertheless, 2 weeks will fly by, and I'll be back to working with you in a matter of days." "I guess you're right, Salty. I'll try to make the best of it. It's just hard when Diesel is so obnoxious and refuses to listen. But I'll keep my chin up and do my best to get through these 2 weeks." "That's the spirit, matey," grinned Salty. "It's now time for some sleep. Busy days are upon us." Salty and Porter were sound asleep. But around midnight, Salty suddenly woke up. "Porter, did you hear that?" Porter opened a sleepy eye. "I only hear you." Porter went back to sleep, while Salty remained alert. He wondered what the noise might be. After half an hour, nothing happened, so Salty went back to sleep. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Early the next morning, Salty was waiting for his ship and was telling Porter about the noise he had heard during the night. "It sounded faint to me. I was still able to hear it, and it sounded like it came from the sea," explained Salty. "Maybe it was a tugboat," Porter suggested. "It didn't sound like a tugboat to me," frowned Salty. Just then, Diesel arrived. "Perhaps it was Porter's ear-splitting snoring," he sneered. "Or it was nothing at all." Porter glared at Diesel. Salty kept his composure and said nothing. "Let's get you loaded on the ship," called Cranky. Salty was lifted up and placed down on the ship's deck. "Good luck, Salty," called Porter. "See you in 2 weeks." With a loud blast of the ship's horn, Salty's journey to the mainland had begun. Neither Porter, Diesel, or Cranky had noticed that Everett had been listening nearby.
Oh dear, he's going to find out soon.
This is the life, smiled Salty. Just me and the beautiful blue sea. Salty was about to doze off, when suddenly... Grease and oil! Cried Salty. The ship is sinking! This is the end for me! Farewell, cruel world! A deckhand heard Salty and tried to calm him down. Take it easy, Salty, he said. The ship isn't taking on water. See? We're perfectly fine. As the deckhand walked away, Salty was indignant. I did hear an explosion. I did! I know that I'm not going crazy! Shiver me axles! What was that? Alert the captain! Someone needs medical attention! But after 10 minutes, Salty was informed that everyone was all right. This was very baffling for Salty. The explosion and scream had been too real. For the first time in his life, Salty the dockside diesel felt scared. In all his years, Salty had never encountered a situation that shook him to his core like this. After a few hours, Salty arrived at the mainland's dockyard. But Salty couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious explosion and screams. The unsettling thoughts made it difficult for him to concentrate, causing him to make a few mistakes as he worked. Each loud noise or sudden movement made him jump. Salty knew he had to remain focused, but the lingering mystery loomed over him like a dark cloud. At last, the dock manager came to see Salty. Is there something wrong, Salty? He asked. Sir Topham Hatt told me you're a cheerful, optimistic worker, but you seem quite the opposite. Salty sighed. Sorry, sir. It's just... Do you know of any sea disasters? The dock manager shook his head. Not that I can recall. I've heard about rough seas and close calls, but nothing about sea disasters. Why do you ask? Oh, it's nothing important, said Salty sadly. Well, all right. Just focus on your work and less on past sea disasters. And that's what Salty did. He worked very hard for many days, and not once he thought about the mysterious explosion and screams. He was focused solely on his tasks, ensuring that everything was in order. The 2 weeks flew by quickly, and it was time for Salty to head back to Sodor. I appreciate your help, Salty, said the dock manager. Despite a few hiccups, you've proved to be a really useful engine. Your ability to navigate tight spots and help with last-minute deliveries has been invaluable to our daily schedule. I'm always happy to help, Salty replied. After all, keeping things running smoothly is what I do best. Now, I have a long trip back home ahead of me, so I should get going. Actually, Salty, there's a ship leaving for Sodor in 5 minutes, so you can catch that instead of making the long trip back home. Besides, we know how much you love the sea. It was at this point that Salty became very nervous, as he knew what was waiting for him out there in the open sea. Salty was carefully lifted up and placed on the ship's deck. As the ship set sail, Salty got more and more nervous. He didn't want to hear the awful explosion and screams again. But after an hour went by, the mysterious explosion and screams never happened. Now Salty was very confused. He had braced himself for the worst, replaying the terrifying sounds in his head, yet here he was, surrounded by nothing but the gentle lapping of waves. Salty's mind raced with questions. I need answers, he said crossly. Salty had returned to Sodor by 4 o'clock, and Porter was greatly relieved at seeing Salty back on the island. But he could see that Salty looked very unhappy. "What's wrong?" asked Porter. "Wasn't it wonderful being able to help out at the mainland's dockyard?" "It was, for the most part," Salty said. "How did you get along with Diesel?" "Dreadful," frowned Porter. "But I suppose it was to be expected. Despite my efforts to remain patient and cordial, his negativity seemed to overshadow the entire experience. Fortunately for me, Diesel got into an accident and was taken to the Diesel Works, and Sir Topham had sent Rosie to help me. She's much more upbeat and cheerful, always bringing a sense of joy and enthusiasm to the tasks at hand." Just then, Bill and Ben arrived. "See? I told you Salty would be back today," puffed Bill. "No, you didn't. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. Yes, I didn't." "Will you two stop being so irritating?" snapped Cranky. "Now you're back. How about a story?" asked Ben. "I don't feel like telling a story right now." "Oh, please, Salty. Please," pleaded Bill. "We miss listening to your stories and—" "Bill, Ben, leave Salty alone!" Edward puffed in, looking very serious. "Salty had encountered something and is looking for answers. Isn't that right, Salty?" "Yes," Salty said meekly. "Therefore," continued Edward, "I will be telling the story for today. So listen well. This happened a long time ago." "Sure it did," Cranky muttered quietly. "Sir Topham had needed a new station pilot," Edward began. "So he called upon a new Diesel to take on the role. I don't remember his name, but I believe his number was 6295. He used to work in a stone quarry on the mainland. 6295 found his work to be very dull. He dreamed of a different life, one where he could explore his true passions and escape the monotony of the quarry. One day, 6295 was told that he was going to be working on the island of Sodor. 6295 was overjoyed. He had heard stories about Sodor being a place full of adventure and vibrant landscapes, where every day brought new opportunities. It was arranged that 6295 would travel to Sodor by ship, and it would leave that evening. But 6295's journey to Sodor would be delayed by a couple of hours. As 6295 waited, he got very impatient and very cross. Finally, at 11:30, 6295 was loaded onto the ship and set off for Sodor. Everything was nice and peaceful, but around midnight, disaster struck. There was a boiler explosion, ripping a giant hole in the side of the ship. Panic spread quickly amongst the crew as alarms blared and chaos ensued. The crew scrambled to locate life vests and find their way to the lifeboats. 6295 was horrified. He begged the crew to help him, but there was nothing they could do for him. So all 6295 could do was scream in terror as the ship continued to take on water. A few minutes later, 6295 and the ship sank to the bottom of the sea. So, concluded Edward, the tragedy left an indelible mark on the survivors and the families of those lost. And every year, on the date of the accident, you will hear the explosion of the ship's boiler and the terrible screams of 6295, whether you're out on sea or even on land. But Bill, I think we're needed back at the clay pits, whimpered Ben. I think so too. There's some trucks waiting to be shunted. I'll take care of that right now, Porter said nervously, and he puffed quickly away. As for Cranky, he remained respectfully silent.
So, that's what happened, Salty said sadly.
Salty didn't feel like telling stories for a long time. He couldn't stop thinking about the awful tragedy of 6295 and those who lost their lives. There was no question in Edward's mind that Salty would take some time to get back to the way he used to be.